there, my name is Callum Bacon, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. And it's the end of the year, it's the last day of the year. We tend to look back at the year. Yeah, when you get to the end of it, you do like top 10 lists, things like that. So I'm doing the best and the worst of Big Finish, the best and the worst of Big Finish in 2020. And it's been an interesting year. There have been reasonably high highs, and I would say very low lows. I would say the absolute worst release they ever put out came out in 2020. So, you know, there's that. Before we get into it, can I ask you guys, hit the like button? That'll be great. Hit that share button. Hit the share button. It'll be fan-freaking-tastic. Thank you very much. But mostly, hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. That would just make my day go so well. And I know you're asking yourself, why would I care? Why would I care if it makes you happy? Listen, I don't know, be nice to somebody else. It's kind of a nice thing to do. Can't hurt. Normally, this is the point when I introduce my weekly competitions. I'm taking a couple of days off because the last one, the prize was so big, so it took me so long. It took me about 5 minutes to go through it. I'm taking the day off until probably Saturday when I'm going to announce the new competition. Before we get into it, though, can I ask you guys, can you go check out my Indiegogo? Go check it. These two graphic novels over here. I'm building up an email list. If you can add your email address, the link is in the video notes. I am pathetically grateful, absolutely pathetically grateful for anybody who adds their email address to the sign-up list. Thank you very much. Fine, let's talk about Big Finish in 2020. So this is what I did. Let's start off over here. I think, is this yeah, this is the first. So this is my list. I went through all the releases I listened to this year. Now, missing from this list are a few things. I never got into the Paternoster Gang. Didn't really like them on TV. Like I like, you know, I always say that that Deep Breath is an episode that Capaldi's first episode. It's an episode that really drags. It really drags me. And they made it like an hour and 5 minutes long. They just took 20 minutes out, and most of those 20 minutes will be the silliness with the Paternoster Gang. I think it would have been a much stronger episode. So I've never really been a massive fan of them. So I didn't listen to that. I got out listening to the Time War Gallifrey series because, quite frankly, I'm just bored of paying to hear Lala Ward huff and sigh at me. It just doesn't really do it for me. And yeah, they did very on-the-nose political analogies with, you know, a despotic ruler in the form of Rassilon. It's like, I'm bored. I am so bored with, liberal, insane people's commentary on today's times. Because I have to tell you, your commentary normally sucks. Your commentary is normally sucked and detached from reality. So I hadn't listened to that. What else do I listen to? I haven't listened to Dracula's War because I don't have time. I haven't had time to get to it. I haven't listened to the River Song series from January last year, which is why I haven't bought the one coming out next year. Next week. Because again, it's just hasn't really sparked me. But this is a list of the majority. So what I did was I went through all the releases, color coded them, and scored them, right? So the ones at the top, the red is the main range, the monthly releases. The green below it are the Tom Baker releases. The blue ones are the box set and special releases. The pink one there are Time Lord Victorious. And the black ones are the non-Doctor Who releases. So it gets interesting. When you first when you then put these in order. And you get to see a real interesting story come out. You go, you see at the bottom of the list is predominantly main range, right? Predominantly main range. The box sets and the non-Doctor Who stuff dominate the top of the list. Time Lord Victoria is pretty much mediocre in the middle, towards the bottom. There's one entry in the top 5, which is only half a release. The Short Trips, Time Lord Victoria's Lesser Evils. Starring John Coleshaw, which for me it's just a really fascinating story with the alien master. He's trapped in the very, very dawn of time, and he's been there for a long time. They talk about how his velvet outfit has been meticulously repaired over the years. So that's a really interesting story. I would love to know what he's doing there. It introduces the villains of Time Lord Victorious, the Cthulhu. Which a sort of villain, which I can't, and they did it really well. It's a very, very good story. It's the other story that you get with it is called Master Thief, which is a far weaker story, far weaker story. It's that one, that's a Delgado one. Also, John Coleshaw doing the voice. perfectly. I'm telling you, his Delgado, perfect. His Ainley, perfect. Not quite as perfect as his Brigadier, which is spot on. It is wonderful. I love his Brigadier. But that one, it's by the biggest problem Big Finish has this year is it's this belief that being a woman is an impediment to a career in writing, right? And so they got to put their finger on the scales to when recruiting, and it's very obvious that there's a very big push to bring in female voices into Big Finish. So listen, if they can do the job, that's great. That's really the essence. Look, one of my favorite authors, Kate Orman. Her work is fantastic, and I think she nails it every freaking time. And also, yeah, she has a very feminine kind of feminine feel to her stories, while remaining very, very true to the subject matter. So I absolutely, but oftentimes I feel the drive to bring in female voices has been to the detriment, and they've been accepting stuff that really just isn't good enough. And it shows, especially in the main range. The main range is something that they clearly don't care about, right? Look, I mean, again, you see main ranges all the bottom of the list. Two interesting things that don't make the top or the bottom is Out of Time 1. That's a David Tennant, Tom Baker release, which is great. I loved it. I just felt it was a bit too slight. I felt it was a bit too throwaway. I think that should have been a 2-disc or really a 3 or 4-disc release. And I would basically it was just over before it started, and it was lovely hearing them bounce off each other. I think it worked well. It was just a bit too throwaway for me. The other thing that just misses the top list is the 8th Doctor release, Time War Volume 4. That's the one with Davros. Excellent, absolutely excellent. Just pipped out of the top 5. But generally, it's a really good release. Something that surprised me didn't make it into the bottom 5 is the 8th Doctor release, Stranded. So that's the one where he's without a TARDIS, and basically he's emasculated. He's very, very emasculated through it. It's lovely hearing Tom Baker in it as the curator. That's the only thing to really recommend it. One of the central characters is called Tanya, who's a trans woman, which means I think it's a woman with a penis. I think that's what's that mean? And yeah, look, very nice. I understand. Look, if you want to define yourself, however you want to define yourself, I have no problem with it. I just stop screaming at me that it's like normative human behavior, right? Because they keep talking about this like golden future, this wonderful future where everybody's fluid and sexuality is completely fluid, and people are generally speaking find that a virtuous thing in 2020. I was listening to was it Sophie Aldred? She was doing an interview about one of the better monthly releases. That was it should have been quite up there, The Grey Man of the Mountain, which was nearly good, but again, female writer, and I feel they just weren't hard enough. They didn't push them hard enough to make a good story, because it was a good premise, fell apart at the end. And at the end, there's this female character who's been teamed up with Ace for most of the time. They have a kiss, kind of a not so ambiguous kiss, right? It seemed to be reasonably romantic. So Sophie Aldred at the end was saying in the interview, says, "Yeah, Ace strikes me as being an open, free person, and love is love." Yeah, I understand. It feels nice to say that, but by definition, then you're saying if somebody says they're not sexually fluid, they're not open to love. So Sophie, I have to ask you, are you open to love? Have you ever had a lesbian relationship? I don't think you have, and I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of, right? I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's normative human sexuality, which is again where Big Finish really does run into trouble. It runs into trouble quite a lot because they keep wanting to preach that, like this insanity that we're all fluid in everything. But given that, let's look at the best and the worst of Big Finish in 2020. So, and the number 5 slot, it is a non-Doctor Who release. It's in fact it's a completely new entity, The Human Frontier by Nicholas Briggs. I really like this. Listen, I like Nick Briggs' work in general. I think he's a real talent. I really do. We have a completely differing worldviews. You know, I really liked his Prisoner as well, and I fundamentally disagreed with what he was saying with the Prisoner, which seemed to be like conform, like, conform to a socialist ideal. I fundamentally disagree with what he was saying. But the nature of the Prisoner is you got to be able to say, have complete creative expression to say controversial things, somewhat controversial thing, and it really worked. This also really worked. It's a really interesting idea. It's essentially you have was it a colony ship and a colony, and they've basically been out of contact with each other for about 500 years, and so you've got these two very, very different views of humanity, and there's a real big schism between the two groups. Again, really clever. Lots of interesting stuff about technology, and what I like what Nick Briggs does here is he introduces he introduces it as a debate rather than a dogmatic decree. Really strong release. Really strong. I like this because it's just good, interesting science fiction. Look, tons of woke 2020 tropes in this. But I don't really think it matters. I don't think it matters. You know, strong storytelling, it just gets past pretty much anything in my book. So that's the number 5 top. The number 5 bottom release is the Lovecraft Invasion. Lovecraft Invasion. It's garbage. It is. You know, it's a whole release based around them shouting that they think racism is bad and people who are racist in the past were bad. So yeah, I've said this many times that social justice warriors, for want of a better word, are baby-brained imbeciles. Baby-brained imbeciles who can only see things in a very simplistic way, right? Very simplistic way. And they've always got to keep reiterating very obvious things like, racism is bad! Yes, racism is bad. Well, racism is really bad. Yes, no, I agree, racism. No, I don't like racism yet. No, I understand. And so that's essentially the feel of it. I think it misrepresents Lovecraft. The story itself isn't bad. Be honest with you, the story itself isn't bad. It's just basically a vehicle for Colin Baker to virtue signal, which is something that he does like to do, as we're going to see in many more of the releases that we're going to be going over. So fine. So that's the bottom. That's number 5 on the top and bottom. Let's go for number 4. Number 4 release is Callum Volume 2. These are excellent. This is the number 4 top releases. Absolutely excellent. Firstly, I love Callum. Callum is a great show. They're on YouTube. It's like the opposite. It's a spice thing, and it's opposite James Bond. James Bond is very glamorous international travel. Callum is very grotty, living in bedsits in the early 70s, late 60s, and his job is essentially to assassinate people. And he's an intelligent guy with a bit of a conscience. He's got a working class background. He was in the military. His best friend is lonely in the TV show played by Russell Hunter. Callum was played by Edward Woodward. Here it's played by Ben Miles or Frank Skinner. Really good casting. Nick Briggs is in this again as Hunter, the guy in charge of the espionage agency that Callum works for. And it's a really good role. Really does work. Jane Slaven's in it as I can't remember the name of the character. The secretary for was it the section? Yeah, right. And you basically you just get 4 really good, well done. Really in the spirit of the time they came from, late 60s, early 70s spy thrillers, Cold War spy thrillers. Love them, absolutely love them. Very strong recommend. Very strong recommend. So here, let's go over here. So the number 4 worst release. Number 4 worst release is this one, the more Colin Baker virtual thing, a 6 Doctor and Perry box set. I was so excited for this. This was hot garbage. The first story is a rewriting of history to say that women were abused by a mythical white male patriarchy that kept them down and kept them unable to be educated, or do things that men. Yeah, just gave them less rights. It's a completely ridiculous view of reality. Again, meant to virtue signal that, basically, social justice warriors are baby-brained imbeciles that need to say things that are really obvious. Women are people too! Yes, women are people too. No, women are super people. Women are people too! Yes, I agree. We shouldn't treat women worse than men. Yeah, no, anybody who did it is a bad person. Bad. Yeah, okay, whatever. So that's the first story. I remember the other stories on it were also garbage. But basically, they all had this ongoing theme of the women being subjugated by evil men. I'm just bored. I'm bored by it all. I really am. So I wasn't bored by my number 3. This is actually joint number 4 release. Is the third Doctor Avengers, starring Tim Treloar. They had Katie Manning and John Levine are in this box set, reprising roles. And again, the fantastic John Carter as the Brigadier, absolutely perfect. So you got the Brigadier and Benton in this in one story on an alien planet, organizing the natives into a fighting force against the Daleks. Just absolutely nails it. There's a line in it where Brigadier goes, we must do right by these people, Benton. And, it was just the decency of the Brigadier, that military decency. Love it. And it's actually my favorite Dalek story of the third Doctor. The second story, Operation Hellfire, not as strong, but you can only get kept together, but still pretty good. It's like it's who's got in it? What's his name? Churchill. Was it? Ian McNeese's in playing Churchill. It's okay. Not nothing wonderful, nothing terrible, right? Something terrible though, however, is the third worst release of the month, and this was a bad role for Sylvester McCoy, who takes up the rest of the bottom of Big Finish releases of 2020. Dark Universe, something I was so disappointed in. So this stars was it Mark Bonner as the 8, the 7? I can't remember. Let's have a look. Cast, the 11. So the 11 is a great villain in the Paul McGann box sets. The Doom Coalition, right? Really clever villain. It's a Time Lord where all his previous generations are active simultaneously, and they're fighting for supremacy. So he's got like a split personality syndrome. It's just really worked. Really good, interesting one. And he was originally captured by the Seventh Doctor. So this is that story that I was really into. And again, it's too throwaway. This should have been a box set. This should have been a 4-disc box set. You got this resentment, this resentment from between Ace and the Doctor. This is a much older Ace who's kind of pissed off with the Doctor. Again, it just didn't match up to the promise of it. So sadly. Joint number 3. Top releases, Restoration. So the Blake 7 ranges in general have been fantastic. Have been absolutely fantastic. There's essentially two seasons in between episodes in series 3 of Blake 7, where there's a Federation civil war. And Liberator is pretty much like mortally wounded at the end of that first season, right? And then the second season, called Restoration, is all about trying to repair Liberator. So this is the one where Paul Darrow had passed away before he recorded his lines. And they got round it in such a clever way. It really worked. Paul Darrow, it was... at the end of the previous box set, they had Paul Darrow put into a suspended animation tube thing, and the crew of the Liberator thinks he's dead. And so you got that intrigue, and you can kind of see that happening on TV, right? I think it really reflected the that you know, the source material of how they would cope for it. And then Paul Darrow does turn up at the end of the final episode using dialogue already recorded. Fortunately, the people writing, who wrote this one, that one, knew it so incredibly well. Yeah, Trevor Baxendale, right? He knows it so incredibly well that he remembers the lines of delivery, and he wrote that into the script. It works flawlessly. It hasn't worked before. They did, you know, Jago and Lightfoot Forever, where they tried to cap off the Jago and Lightfoot thing. Didn't really work. We're doing the thing here, seamless, absolutely seamless. The end of a great season, probably one of the greatest seasons of Blake Seven. I really recommend. Was it Crossfire? And was it called? Is it called Crossfire? What's the other box set called? They should have them down here. Warehead's also good. Yeah, Crossfire and Spoils or really, 7 great box sets. Really, really good. On the other end of the barrel, the other end of the barrel, we have the Psychic Circus, a truly awful Psychic Circus. Is this one of the worst releases ever? It's amongst them. It's amongst them. So again, this is a prequel, sequel, addition to. I couldn't tell. I don't really care. Greatest Show in the Galaxy, one of my favorite stories of all time. I love this story. It's got who is this guy in as a master who they're never going to hire again. What's he called again? I'm surprised they even put his name in it. Richard Dreyfuss, right? No, James Dreyfuss. They have James Dreyfuss as a master in it. So James Dreyfuss, I don't know. Listen, the Baby Bane imbeciles on Twitter don't like James Dreyfuss because I think he said that having a penis makes you male. Generally speaking, I don't know what he said, but they freak out about everything. They freak about. Whenever they say they want to cancel someone, I ignore them. But Big Finish listens, and so he's cancelled Big Finish. This is a terrible story, a terrible inclusion of the Master for no reason whatsoever. Ian Reddington's incredible clown is reinvented as like this giggling buffoon. Great performance by Ian Reddington. However, nothing really makes sense, and you don't really care about anything. It just doesn't really. And again, what a great hook! What a great premise for a release. Just totally squandered. Strong avoid on this one. A strong avoid. So the top 2 releases. I basically put equal to one another. Donna Noble Kidnap, glorious, absolutely glorious. This is a 4-part Donna Noble miniseries. She's taking a break from the 10th Doctor. David Tennant is in it as a cameo. And it's just so Donna Noble, and she's so good, and it's such a great show. If you like Donna Noble, you would love this. Absolutely, I do like Donna Noble, and I do like who wrote this, because these are 4 excellent stories. Jacqueline Rayner, John Dorney, James Goss, and Matt Fidden. Yeah, no wonder, no wonder, they're all excellent. You know, you have this contemporary adventure. I mean, the only thing missing from it, I realised that there's no Wilf in it, which I thought was a bit shame. But there's Jacqueline King, and is in the first and last story. Nikki Wardley, which is who is friends with Catherine Tate, is kind of like her assistant in this strange adventure in time and space, where she ends up in the TARDIS, going crazy places without David Tennant. Just a great story. A really, really, really fun story. Love this one. I strong recommend. You know, and yeah, we're about to see the Doctor Who festive special air, and I think we're going to see epically low ratings for it. And people are going to say TV audiences in general are falling. TV audiences in general are going down. That's true, because TV in general is garbage. It's hot garbage. We're all with this insanity where they want to preach to you that if you believe in having any kind of like enforced borders, you're a racist, or if you believe having a penis makes you male, you're a bigot, or men can't menstruate, things like that. Everything is like, EastEnders just got 3.5 million for Christmas Day. That's kind of unheard of low. Maybe if he didn't introduce every character after being in it for like 3 weeks, goes, I'm gay, okay, we're sick of everybody being gay and a lesbian. Nobody minds if you're gay and lesbian, but most people aren't, right? Most people aren't. That's why it's called a minority. So so it's going to get epically low ratings. My answer is, if they just made this and put it on TV, it'll be getting 9, 10, maybe 12 million. It will get huge ratings. Well, you know why? Because it's good. It's good. It's got a female lead. It's got no agenda. It's just entertaining. It's just entertaining, and made by people with talent who like the source material. The number one, the lowest, the worst release of 2020, and the worst release of all time. Sylvester McCoy, The Flying Dutchman, Displaced. Displaced is kind of just a boring story. But it's okay. I mean, like, it's not offensively bad. Flying Dutchman is the worst hot garbage I've ever seen. Gemma Aerosmith, how this got greenlit is beyond me. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. The Big Finish, they put this out. The plot is Scooby-Doo, to say the best. To give it the best. It's about a sailing ship in, the 17th century, something like that. And they're being menaced by another sailing ship that's glowy because they think it's a ghost ship. It turns out to be just people covered in phosphorus, and the evil first mate is trying to take over the ship. So that's bad in of itself. But then you got one of the main characters in it, the cabin boy, is obviously a woman, obviously a girl who's run away to sea because it's not fair that men can do it and women can't. No, the reason women didn't run away to sea is because that's called hazardous labor. People die doing that, and back in history, women didn't do hazardous labor because women were thought to be needed protected and land raised up. So the story goes on in the most stupid way humanly possible. She's revealed to be a woman, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's fantastic!" And she becomes the first mate instead of the villainous first mate. And then Doctor and Ace leaves her on a ship with a bunch of horny sailors who are going to gang rape her. My God, what is wrong with you morons? What's wrong with you morons is you just want to have this obnoxious, insane agenda, and you want to have female voices. I get it. For God's sake, you can't have something this low quality because you're going to be called a diversity hire. This is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I'm always tempted to recommend you buy it just to hear how bad it is. Terrible. It's honestly, Big Finish should be ashamed of themselves for this release. My favorite release on the other hand, my favorite release of the year is Susan's War. It's a Time War, Susan's War. So the Time War is they have all these different box sets, which are kind of like tiles in a larger gameplay thing. This is one of the tiles. Last time we saw Susan was in a short trip where she was being recruited for the Time War, and we thought that's the last we saw of her. Then somebody had the idea, no, let's go back and actually see what she does. So these are great stories. Paul McGann's in it, and I think one of the stories, she teams up with an older Incheston to return to the Sense Sphere in one story. It's all about negotiations, politics, and some kind of very Casablanca-y feel, right? It's got this wartime espionage feel. Really, really good. So 4 absolutely great stories fitting in Time War. Sphere of Influence, that's them trying to get involved with the Sense Sphere. Uncertain Shore, that's on a doomed planet where the Time War's coming. Assets of War, great story where there's they're talking about war ethics, right? Going on within Gallifrey. And the final one, the shortest intervention, is Susan's got to go back to 1963, Shoreditch, and stay out the way of her grandfather, who does get a nice cameo as the Daleks, whatever Dalek scheme it is goes on. Absolutely beautiful release. Absolutely love this one. This one is a corker. So more of this next year. Please, no more diversity hires. It's not doing you any good. It's not doing you any good at all. I've got the second Stranded box set already ordered. Don't know if I'm going to be getting a third, right? So that's where you are with that. That's how shaky you are. So there you go. That is Big Finish in 2020. Looking forward to seeing Big Finish in 2021. We've got a lot to look forward to. We got Dalek Universe, looks great. We got the not Paul McGann. We got the Christopher Eccleston releases. There's a lot of good stuff coming out in 2021. I'm hoping it's going to be a better year. Thank God the main range is going. The main range is just knackered, absolutely exhausted. So there you go. That's my review of the best and the worst of Big Finish in 2020. My name is Felix Beck, and you are Rabbi for Another Planet. Please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to go click the link, check out my Indiegogo, and add your email address to the list. Thank you very much, and have yourselves a fantastic day.